Love turning on the camera and Bonnie decides to blow her nose. Welcome to, I almost said Vlogmas! Hi! Is it 5 seconds since I turned off the camera doing my last update for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes? Yeah. But I was like, we need to dive in. We need to be like Doja Cat and dive into the pussy like oceans. Welcome to Sunday morning at 12:30 a.m. I'm starting Sunrise on the Reaping. Clapping my hands like a fucking seal. I have heard that this is like everyone's favorite book of the year. So what that lacked in 5-star ratings, I'm expecting to come through in 5-star ratings. Because upon reread the original Hunger Games trilogy, I knew that I liked haymitch. I really liked haymitch upon reread. So if this doesn't snap my neck, like no pun intended, because this is about dying kids, I will be surprised, because he's one of the most interesting and nuanced characters in the series, and he and Katniss have such a interesting relationship. And versus President Snow's book took place 64 years ago, in the Dark Ages practically, this is only 25 years ago. I've already been spoiled that there are mentions of characters in this that we'll recognize more than fucking Pittsburgh Heavensby or whatever his name was. Some like great grandfather of the characters that we kind of might remember. Oh, and Travis Flickerman or whatever his name was. Lucky Flickerman. Okay, again, I have stayed as spoiler free as I possibly can be for this book, but I know 2 things. One, I reread this scene in Catching Fire where Peeta and Katniss watch his Hunger Games, so obviously I know what happens and how he wins. So I kind of have a briefing on what to expect here. 2, everyone talks about the scene with the geese, and I don't know what that means, but I do know at the end of Mockingjay it was like, haymitch still hates his life and wants to die and drinks, but he has geese sometimes. We'll see how that comes into play. Quarter quell, double the victors, yeah. This is gonna be a ride. I am thinking and keeping in my heart the YouTuber who did the haymitch mini movie, Peace, Love, Respect. We're gonna put that on after I finish this until the actual movie comes out. But everyone, we love haymitch. God bless the seam. And I'm about to dive into the pussy like oceans. Let's go. Thumbnail. Okay, bye. Good morning. Excuse me. Last night I read 62 pages. I knew this would eat. I predicted it. I telepathized. Of course it's amazing. I'm already picking up on some hints of all the characters and who they are. God, I just, like, I hate to be part of the problem, and like this is a little bit fourth wall of me, but it's so much more interesting to read about being in the games rather than being on President Snow's side of it outside of the games. Anywho, apologies. My camera died and I lost one of my batteries, so we're just rocking with one. And I feel like a little housemaid with my, I think I meant to say milkmaid. Oh well. I've got Frida McFadden on the mind apparently. I feel like I'm already a good chunk of the way through this and like nothing has happened, so it's really going by fast if I've already flown through the seemingly actionless part of the book. I think I want to read and finish this today. I know people were saying that it feels like fan service at the beginning of this because it's throwing in all the characters that you start to know and recognize from District 12, but I'm not minding it. I much prefer recognizing characters from District 12 rather than people in the Capitol who are annoying, and there are some of those in here as well. Yeah, while I wait for my video to upload and Gordo's cutting off the circulation in my right leg laying on my lap right now, I'm gonna continue reading, but right now I'm just loving it. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Okay, hi my spinach puffs. I relocated, I put on some real clothes. I've been really powering my way through this. Excuse me. I'm on page 208 and I know I'm about to sail through the rest of it because the games are about to begin. So before I finish off the second half of this, I wanted to do some kind of halfway update just so the vlog for this isn't just me beginning it and then me ending it. I will say I'm really enjoying it, which I knew I would, because by page 1 I was like, well duh, I am gonna do nothing except support haymitch. The fact that he wasn't officially reaped and he was like illegally kind of just ushered onto stage was crazy. The way that his stylist is just some weirdo who like never shows up. Why am I yelling, by the way? I need to calm down. When Effie first broke into the book, I was like, I can see why people say this reads like fan service, because every few chapters it'll bring in a new character. Like first Wyrus was their mentor, and then Mags was their mentor, and then it brought in BT and his son, and then Effie's in the book. So I honestly, I'm not minding that whatsoever. I don't really consider that fan service. If anything, I would say it's appreciated extra context and history about these characters that we really only have glimpses of, especially like the victors from Catching Fire. And didn't Mags not even speak in Catching Fire? Like she had had a stroke or something? We're able to get so much more out of these characters, and obviously it's 25 years ago, so they are very different. Wyrus is like still a teenager because she just won the games, and in Catching Fire all you really hear her say is TikTok and speak in riddles. So I'm actually really enjoying seeing some of the other characters. I'm gonna keep stating the obvious of like, oh my god, there's so much more context for things, but I think in my head, because you hear haymitch's story from Katniss's point of view, seeing him on screen, I thought for certain he was being himself in the interview, and his strategy to find the edge of the arena was just something that he originated. But seeing that Plutarch and BT were being rebellious even as far back as this quarter quell, but then it took another 25 years to actually accomplish any kind of meaningful pushback against the game makers, is a really interesting foundation for Katniss's story, because they are already trying to achieve that this early on. I will say at the beginning I really enjoyed his romance with, shit, what's her name? Yeah, Lenore Dove. I thought it was so cute, and the way that they were just always kissing when they were together I thought was very sweet. There were a couple of times, and obviously like this is with a grain of salt because I'm never gonna be a teenager in love forced to go off to fight to the death with 47 other teenagers, but it was getting a little bit heavy-handed at some points. But I know it's just setting that up to make you feel even more upset when she's, I'm assuming, executed. One of the first things President Snow said in his conversation with haymitch is like, oh, who's your girl? I really enjoyed the scene with President Snow in this, and I was not expecting it to be so sequential from A Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, because so many of the details in that book arose in this one again. So it feels like you really can't read this as a standalone because the pipeline of information is consistent, and you can start to see like a rudimentary games from Snow's book, middle of the games in haymitch's book, like what that process is like 25 years after, and then where the games end up by Katniss's. So we're in this like mid-timeline adaptation of the games where it looks a lot more familiar. There's still so much more to come, and so hearing from Snow and seeing like the effects of him being poisoned and like knowing that that's part of his character, character building. But it's also just so sinister. I guess I didn't realize that haymitch was rebellious before Katniss was the catalyst for so much shit. I guess I'm not surprised because it kind of would be within his character to do that. I think at this point it's just going to be such an interesting character study of how the devastation coming out of these games is going to drive him into alcoholism, because that's like his #1 known trait as a character. So it's already kind of set up the background of him like working with someone at a distillery. And one thing I'm already sad about is I've gotten really attached to the other characters from District 12, specifically Maisley. I remember when I was reading Catching Fire, I think, when it was describing Madge and how she got the Mockingjay pen from her mother whose twin was in the games. I was like, oh my god, okay, so this is the girl, got it. Yes. And she just has such an attitude on her. The technology with Lulu, what's her full name? I forget. Having died during the parade, but then they just like use a random body from District 11 to reanimate and pretend it's her. It's just, you're starting to see some of the hijinks with how far technology will go to maintain that the Capitol is perfect. Because like in Snow's book, they let like 8 tributes die before they hit the arena. I would assume that that was probably a big reason why Snow is insistent that we can't show on TV any kind of weakness. So yeah, I'm literally at the part where they're all hugging before they go into their rooms to go up into the arena. One thing I'm kind of grateful about is that I don't really remember from Catching Fire what the description of his games is. I know how he wins is with like the axe and the edge of the arena, but I don't remember what the landscape of the arena is gonna be. I don't know how quickly the allyship is going to fall apart. And I will say that's the one part of this book that I felt was a little bit difficult, is there's so much plotting about like the careers versus everyone else that they're calling the newcomers, and there's so much like political, oh, we need to talk to District 4, we needed to go get District 9, oh, District 7. So I feel like some of the conversations in like the training room beforehand are a bit heavy-handed, and I'm like, why are we focusing so much on this? Probably just because I know he's gonna end up going off by himself in the game, so it's all for nothing. But other than that, I'm sailing through it. This book only has 380-ish pages. It's pretty much a hallmark of any Hunger Games book, where even though the most interesting plot point is obviously them in the arena fighting for their lives, but it's always only half the book. There's so much setup beforehand. She describes so much afterward as well. I just think that that's impressive that she can hold attention like that despite the true crux of the plot only being like a sliver of the actual book. I'm about to get my feelings hurt because I have a feeling that the cornucopia first couple minutes is going to be a shit show, especially because there's some crazies in this quarter quell. I just keep imagining Suzanne having fun writing this because she gets to work within her own confines of what she's already described in the previous trilogy and start ascribing little details and like rewriting that history a little bit and adding more depth. Typically I am against authors going back into their own series and expanding on it or doing spin-offs or anything. And a little bit I felt that way for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I was like, why did we need this? It felt like it didn't do that much, but I feel like I would not mind if she wrote 75 books about all 75 games. I mean, I guess we already have 2 of the 75, and I guess we have the 10th one and this one. So 71 other games, especially like Finnick's book would be so interesting to read. Joanna's would be so interesting to read. I've talked way too much about a book I'm only 200 pages into, and I'm just staring at the scene like ready to go. So I'm gonna turn the camera off and I'm gonna keep going, and I'll probably finish this tonight if we're being honest. It's so good. Is it a full 5 stars? Not really, unfortunately. My mind might be changed depending on how this ends, but right now it's more of a 4. But we'll see. If it rips my heart out cruelly enough, I might need to bump it up to a 5. I could not be saltier that my camera died right when I tried to record my reaction to the epilogue, because the epilogue was so sweet. I finished the book like 30 minutes ago, but then had to go charge my camera, so I'm letting it marinate. Again, I'm kind of having the reaction to President Snow's book where I was expecting to close the book and be like, it was the best thing this year, 5 stars, and everyone's saying that Sunrise on the Reaping is one of the best books of the year. I liked it. I didn't love it. First of all, never in my life have I skim read so many poems and quotes. I don't know if you watched my Ballad of Songbird and Snakes review, but I'm just not a fan of lyrics in books. My brain just skims over them unless they're like really integrally tied to the plot. So the whole last chapter where it's just reciting the entire poem of the Raven, I was like, I'm sure there's some significance here, and I'm sure that she probably thought I was eating this up as someone with an English degree, but I was skim reading. And I'm gonna be a little bit of a cynic. I'll get out all the shit talking before I go into the things I like. I question, is the love of your life when you're 16 really that influential? Because he's still in his 40s at Katniss's games, still drunk every day. And I know it said he's more drunk out of habit nowadays, but I feel like he would have been driven to drinking because of his family and because of the people in the games that he killed, but it seemed very centered around his relationship with his girlfriend that he had when he was 16. And so I'm not trying to discredit that because I'm a virgin loser who didn't have a love of my life when I was 16. But again, I just felt like some of the romance parts in this were shaky. I was not expecting her to be alive after getting out of the base, by the way. The whole thing with the gumdrops was so obvious and stupid. I'm like, why would you eat gumdrops if they've been sitting in a meadow for a week? But okay. The other big issue I had with just the second half of the book in general is I was not expecting it to lean so much into that haymitch's games were the predecessor of trying to take down the Capitol. So the fact that he, even after winning the games, still throws a bomb at the generator. Couple of things. A, did that even accomplish anything? Because I feel like he just kind of passed out and then was in a weird limbo and then went back home. But like, did he break the games? Was it just symbolic? B, why did President Snow let him live? I know that this book was really talking about how, you know, if any of the tributes or the victors who go against the Capitol or they die before going to the games, like the Capitol tries to cover it up because they don't want to seem like there's any flaws in their system. But this felt so severe. Like the fact that they were able to break into under the arena, and then at one point they kill actual game makers, which by the way, why the fuck were game makers allowed in the arena while there's still people in there? Which might be purposeful on the Capitol's part because they were grasping at straws, but it felt unrealistic that he would be allowed to live. Even though he did get obviously severe punishment for it and he lived in anguish for years afterward, I'm like, I don't know that I'm buying his backstory. I do like the point that they made about propaganda, and I guess it's more about censorship, where the tape that Katniss saw and that they played at his victory tour of the events of what happened versus what actually happened, and the way that they edited it away from that, I think was an interesting take on it. But the layers of backstory they added to it, I'm not sure were really doing anything for me. In a very, again, capitalistic voyeur way, I liked the second half of the book because it's a lot more like things are happening every single page. I mean, I loved the spirit of haymitch being like, fuck the Capitol, we need to do something, I don't want to be your plaything. So that was great. Marilee, what's her name? The twin girlie, forget her name, the book's in the other room, sorry. Love her, but yeah, just politically there's some things that I'm confused on why they would let it slide, like BT being allowed to live because he's too valuable. Like, are you sure? If Snow was gonna poison someone just because they put on a parade that went wrong, like why would you not also kill the person who literally broke into the arena's underbelly and caused a huge glitch? I'm like, the math and science is not mathing and sciencing to me in a way that I think I'm missing something. But like, were any of y'all questioning the realisticness of this and why he was allowed to continue to live? Because at the end, when they gave him the thing that went on his chest, like Lulu had, I was like, oh my god, they're gonna control him. And so maybe the haymitch that we know in the Hunger Games series is like a hijacked version from the Capitol, but no, it was just like his medicine. I have not seen the trailer or anything for the movie, and honestly I would react to it, but I will get demonetized, so I will not be doing that, but I will watch it. But yeah, I think I'm gonna give that 4 stars as well. I gave Songbirds of Allison Steak 4 stars, but rounded down to 3.5. I think this one will be 4 stars, but rounded up to 4.5. I think it was written well. I liked haymitch, obviously. It's hard not to. I just don't know that it made complete sense to me. The first half felt very in line with what we knew about him, and this was filling in the gaps. The second half felt like a bit of a stretch. Like we had the outline of what we knew what happened to him, but what she was filling in the blanks with, I was like, does that fit. It seemed like a bit of a stretch where this felt like an addition to the series and not like authentic backstory, which that's just something that I'm sensitive about, because we all know my favorite series had that very revisionist shit happen to it where it's like, oh, you thought it was this, but actually it was this. So maybe I just have a little bit of a stickiness with that where I don't love that. But either way, still gave it 4.5 stars. Still read it in a day like I did for Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I have been long putting these off because I was kind of scared of them, but I'm happy I read them and now I get to see the movies. And now I'm up to speed. So I'm assuming if you've watched this, you either love the Hunger Games and have read these, or just, I don't know what the other option would be. But let's talk Hunger Games in the comments. What was your reaction to all the books? Do you think that the universe melds and is flowing well? I look forward to chatting with y'all how y'all enjoyed these, and until the movie comes out, hope you'll have a beautiful day. Thank you guys so much for watching, and it's time for me to go pick up a new book. I still have a week off work before I have to go back after New Year's, so I'm so excited. Till next video, bye!